Welcome to Moores Creek National Battlefield. This is Ranger Jason coming to you from the History Trail just behind the Visitor Center. And today we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're not going to talk about the battle or a lot of the history here so much. We're going to talk about one of the unique natural features that we have here in our park, which is the Venus flytrap. And a lot of people have heard of the Venus flytrap, and because of that there's a lot of misconceptions about the plant, about its size, about what it does. And so I want to spend a couple minutes today talking about some of those misconceptions and hopefully kind of giving you a better idea about what those plants are. But we see Venus flytraps everywhere. They're all over television. There's a Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson and the family's at the zoo and they're reading about Venus flytraps. And he's reading about the part where it can trick animals into coming into its trap. Homer doesn't think it's true. So the Venus flytrap opens, and lo and behold, it's got a hot dog inside, and Homer goes for the hot dog and is trapped by that Venus flytrap. In addition, you have one of the famous Marvel movies, Captain Marvel. Nick Fury, who's the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., he actually tells a shape-shifting creature called a Skrull that he would bet him $50 if he could turn into a Venus flytrap. And the first actually appearance we have of the Venus flytrap in writing comes from an early colonial governor of North Carolina, Arthur Dobbs. He wrote to a naturalist back in England about this unique thing that he had found. I want to share with you his words now. We find one of our earliest descriptions of the plant from this letter from Dobbs. He wrote, "We have a kind of catch fly sensitive, which closes upon anything that touches it. It grows in latitude 34, but not in 35. I will try to save the seed here." This plant still continued to fascinate him because he wrote about it 1 year later. "The great wonder of the vegetable kingdom," Dobbs said, "is a very curious unknown species of sensitive. It is a dwarf plant. The leaves are like a narrow segment of sphere consisting of two parts, like the cap of a spring purse, the concave part outwards, each of which falls back with indented edges like an iron spring fox trap upon anything that touches those leaves, or falling between them. They instantly close like a spring trap and confine any insect or anything that falls between them. It bears a white flower. To this surprising plant, I have given the name of flytrap sensitive." And that's actually the first time we hear about Venus flytraps in history, and just so happens to be a North Carolina colonial governor. So how does the flytrap actually draw insects to itself? It actually gives off this very nice smell that draws insects, spiders, beetles towards it. But what it does, it's got little tiny hairs inside. And if the insect only touches one of those hairs, the flytrap will not close. Those tiny hairs on the inside have to be touched in succession at least twice in 20 seconds for the trap to engage. Because the flytrap can actually tell the difference between something that is food from something that's not food. Like I could put a pencil with a rubber eraser on the end inside of that flytrap. It would close, but it would know that's not food, so it won't waste the effort to try to digest it because it knows that's not worth it. So those insects will actually fly into the trap, and it'll touch those hairs twice, and that trap will slowly start to close on that object. But what we find out is that once that process starts, the flytrap will actually do something similar to what our stomachs do. Our stomachs make enzymes which liquefies our food and helps us to digest. And now that animal is fully digested by the flytrap, it's ready to get more. And what's so unique about these flytraps is that each individual plant has anywhere between 3 and 12 separate traps that can often operate to get more food for that particular plant. And what makes that so intriguing is that each of those traps can only open and close so many times. So we always have to be careful, we don't engage those traps too much, because if you do it too much, the plants can actually become not mobile anymore, which is not good for the plant. Now, what's amazing about these plants is that in Asia, these plants get a lot bigger. And in some parts of Asia, these huge meat-eating plants have been known to eat frogs, lizards, and even some rodents. But here in North Carolina, they don't get as big, so they're just going to be feasting on insects, bugs, beetles, things like that. So the soil for these fly traps is very, very important for why they only grow in this part of the U.S. That soil has to be very acidic, and the soil all around it has to have been touched by a prescribed burn. And those soils are very important for that particular plant, because not many plants can survive in that volatile of a place, because what the flytrap is adapting to is that all of its competition is being wiped out by the fires. So as long as there's part of that flytrap that has not been touched by the fire, the trap will reproduce that way. But because these plants are so interesting, they've become sort of a household thing. People want to go out into the wild. People want to go find these traps, buy them at greenhouses, and raise them in their own homes. And because these fly traps have been so over-harvested, we actually find that they become an endangered species. And only certain parts of North and South Carolina still have these fly traps growing out here in the wild. One of those places is just behind our Park Visitor Center, just down this history trail, just off to the side in a little planter box. So our invite to you today is the next time you're out here walking the history trail, pull off a little bit and check out the planter box that actually has these amazing creatures growing in the wild. And we hope to see you here at the park very soon. Thank you very much.